Hello, good morning, everyone. I hope this video finds you in best health and spirits. And I'm going to talk to you in this video about population management for the 21st century and beyond. I'm going to introduce the term population management. I feel this is a far superior approach than birth control. Okay, we can also talk about refer to it as demographic management. Okay, I also request you to read my paper on human trusteeship or management. I made a video on that and uploaded that last week. Both of them go hand in hand. I would request you to kindly read both of them. And as far as the origin of a human being is concerned, humans evolved over a lengthy period of change by which humans supposedly originated from ape-like uh, creatures and ape-like antecedents, antecessors. Okay, predecessors. Actually, this theory is 100% correct, even though some groups, Western interest groups, including religious, Muslim, Christian, and Hindu groups, are against it. This is definitely been proved beyond a shadow of any doubt, and this is the only logical way humans could evolve. The earliest humans were found in Africa. The out of Africa theory is highly oversimplistic and highly antiquated because we had humans found in other part of the world like Peking man in China, people from fossils found in Java, fossils found in Gujarat, fossils found in Sri Lanka, and fossils found in Europe, Neanderthal man. If all these need to be carbon dated and carefully theories need to be constructed. This is seldom not done. People jump the gun and jump to conclusions. This is an unhealthy trend. Now, as far as the growth of world's population is concerned, around 12,000 years ago, that is at the time of the Neolithic Revolution, around 10,000 BC, the world's population supposedly was around 4 million only. This is a rough estimate and a guesstimate. We don't have any reliable data to back this up. And by 1804, the world's population had reached 1 billion. This is a major landmark. And by 1927, the population had again doubled to reach 2 billion. And it took 120 years to double after reaching 1 million. Now, if you see the doubling rates, they have been progressively successively reduced. By 1960, the world's population had reached 3 billion and taken 33 years to add another 1 billion. By 1974, the world's population had reached 4 billion, 14 years after reaching 3 billion. By 1987, the world's population had reached 5 billion. Okay, today the world's population is around 8 billion. It's a very large change, 60% increase from the time I was studying in my college, okay, in the 80s. Okay, as far as if you see the future population predictions, we have different types of predictions models being projected and presented. We have the high variant, medium variant, and low variant. These just extrapolate trends and take into account certain considerations and lead indicators, etc. But these may not be 100% accurate, okay, because they may not be adequate uh, representation of all the kinds of factors that will be involved in driving population growth or slowdown in population growth. According to the United Nations UN projections, the world's population will peak by the mid 2080s, growing from around 8.2 billion in 2024 to around 10.3 billion. And according to the UN, the world's population again will reach 8.6 billion in 2030 and 9.8 billion in 2050. Another institute known as the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation has said that the Earth's population will peak in 2061 and gradually decline thereafter. According to a 2004 science study, the world's population will reach 11 million by 2010 and with 70% chance only of continuing growth on the 22nd century. It depends on a large number of actions also carried out or performed or executed by human actors who may take decisions on behalf of the population, especially politicians. So this may not entirely be natural. It may be induced by growth rates. I mean, growth inducing techniques or population growth inhibiting or suppressing techniques like contraceptives, etc. Now, if you try to, we need to get down to brass tacks and understand a few basic concepts. What exactly is total fertility rate? Total fertility rate also is abbreviated as TFR. It is a synthetic rate. It refers to the average number of children a woman could be expected to bear in her lifetime based on current birth trends. Okay, and TFR would depend on large number of factors, and these TFR naturally varies widely from region to region. In South Korea, it is 0.68 children per woman. In Niger, it is 7.2 children per woman, or even higher. Though it is gradually falling there as well, it will take ages for them to reach replacement rate. It depends on total fertility rate depends on cultural factors, religious factors, economic factors, political factors, educational factors. Even religion can play a role. For example, Muslims have traditionally have had higher growth rates, although Muslim birth rates also are now rapidly falling. Okay, and the total fertility rates are generally taken based on mid-year estimated values. Okay, And country-wise, total fertilizers are calculated. Trend analysis is performed. Okay, causes for acceleration or deceleration in change of TFR is also understood or computed. Okay, and the population projections are also based thereupon, based on age, fertility, education sector. Also, you can have uh, TFR calculated. This will provide a meaningful basis for slice and dice analysis. Lead indicators for population growth can also be calculated. For example, we have infant mortality rate. If parents feel that children may not survive, then they produce more children. Age at marriage, okay. The younger you get married, the more likely number of children you have. Women's education also. The higher the women are educated, the less chances that they will have a high birth rate. That's why we are supposedly now trying to promote women's education on a war footing. Teenage pregnancies is not so much of a problem in India as it is in the United States. In the strict canonical definition of the term, high school dropout rate also will determine, especially if men are also not properly educated, they will have a higher birth rate. Okay, another interesting concept is that of a replacement fertility rate. Replacement fertility rate is usually two. Some theoretically it is two because two children will replace parents every generation. But however, there may be chances that children do not reach maturity. So usually the replacement TFR is considered to be or computed to be 2.1. However, in less developed countries, it may be more than 2.1. In India, it may be 2.2 or so. But generally, 2.1 is the uh, generally accepted fertility rate. Okay, and most Indian states have now fallen below this threshold level, with the exception of UP and Bihar. But UP will fall by the end of the decade. Hopefully, it will reach because it is now 2.4 children per woman, according to some accounts. Okay, now what is population momentum? Even after fertility rate, total fertility rate of a country reaches replacement level, which is maybe around 2.1, population will not stop growing immediately. We have what is known as a population momentum. Population momentum means birth rates will exceed death rates for some more time, for another 20, 30 years or so. This is because a number of cohorts being born, I mean, number of parents being born is number of births will be less than deaths for another 20, 30 years. So once the number of births reaches the number of deaths, then the population will not stop growing. After this, it will fall. You don't have any proper theoretical projection or theoretical basis of study for behavioral patterns, how fertility reaches falls often falls or continues to fall or plateaus or rebounds after it reaches replacement level. I think more and more theories will need to be developed on this in future based on raw hardcore data, and you need to come up with nomothetically you need to come up with laws. Okay, since there could be wide variations from state to state, region to region, you need to understand the factors, global universal factors that guide behavioral patterns after population falls below the replacement rate. This needs to be done. Early theories have been developed a long time ago. For example, in China, Confucius developed wrote about population growth. In India, Kautilya wrote about population growth. In the Arab world, Ibn Khaldun wrote about population growth. In Greece, Plato wrote about population growth. Modern thinkers like Adam Smith, David Richard, and others also have talked about population growth and other issues. However, the most famous theory was proposed by Thomas Robert Malthus. His population growth theory says that population grows geometrically, whereas food production grows arithmetically, and soon the population will outstrip uh, the growth. I mean, outstrip food supply, and millions of people would starve to death. Similar projections were made in the 1960s. Okay, and people were very scared about high population growth because, especially in the developing countries, they're known as third world, had high birth rates. Even Bhutan, Thailand had high birth rates. Now, both Bhutan, Thailand, even Kashmir for that matter, it's a Muslim majority, have TFRs far below replacement. Okay. One more theory is theory of demographic transformation. This was proposed sometime later in the 1920s. It was based on observations made by Baron Thompson, Adolph Landry, and others. According to this theory, at stage one, there will be high birth rates and high death rates. There's low education, worms, pestilence, disease, famines, etc. At stage two, there will be high birth rates and low death rates. There will be a population explosion. Okay, the low birth death rates will be due to medical advances. Okay, and stage 3 will lead to low birth rates and low death rates. Okay, And low birth rates, we have had low birth rates in many countries, are now below two, especially East Asian countries. The only exception is Sub-Saharan Africa, where birth rates continue to be very high. Okay. In India, the importance of family planning was realized by some early thinkers such as Raghunath Dondokorve. This was done in the 1920s. Around the same time, Margaret Sanger proposed her ideas in the 1920s. However, some of her ideas stand accused of racism and eugenics. I hope you know what eugenics is, just refer to it. At the same time, there was interest among black populations also to control their population, and Sanger helped those people. And she also traveled to East Asia, like China and Japan, and helped the people there to launch their own birth control programs. At the time, female infanticide was common in China, even in parts of India also. Okay. People like Mahatma Gandhi, leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Periyar Eviyar thought very differently on population issues. Mahatma Gandhi thought it should be wholly voluntary and left to the control of the census. Okay, he was against contraceptives. However, Periyar Eviyar wanted birth control as a means of legitimizing women's rights. Okay, and in India, 1952, India became the first country in the world to launch a birth control program. Since then, the results have been mixed. While it indeed has fallen, TFR has indeed fallen to replacement level. It took almost 75 years to do so, twice as long as China did, in spite of the fact that China also had ups and downs. And the program was built into early 5 year plans also. However, women's education was not adequately emphasized, and education and literacy rates itself remained abysmally low in India long after independence until the launch of the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan movement in the 1990s. Okay, it was also purely voluntary in India, birth control. That's why it was low. Infamously, during the emergency in 1975, Sanjay Gandhi promoted forced sterilization in the states in North India. This set our movement back by several decades. And even now, UP and Bihar are laggards. Muslim birth rates are also falling. Okay, we don't have any comprehensive theory of post-replacement transition. Okay, I hope in the next few days people will work on this based on data so that we can model population projections after countries have fallen below the replacement. Of course, this is also fraught with certain hazards and perils because we may not be able to do projections accurately. There's always a moment of risk involved. There are many problems and issues involved. Population management is not widely used as a term. I propose population management and demographic management be widely used. The role of population is in mitigating climate change has not been adequately emphasized. We are talking endlessly and ad nauseum about climate change and climate management. But population management is an important integral part of this, which has not been adequately discussed in forums. Okay, fora. Economic issues also are emphasized overemphasized over environmental issues. For example, people are worried about the per capita income growth rate will come down if population comes down, but people are not worried about environmental consequences. Okay, there is no long-term perspective at all. People don't think in terms of 1,000 years. This is very necessary. That's why we have postulated the concept of eternitism. No global long-term perspective. We have talked about omnimodism also here. And Western problems are often presented as non-Western problems. Countries like Sub-Saharan Africa, you cannot ask them to increase their birth rates, but the people in India and Sub-Saharan Africa slavishly and foolishly follow paradigms and imagine first world problems to be their own problems. This is still a problem here, and in the Indian context, new solutions and birth control programs have not been postulated often. Okay, and we also have concepts such as demographic dividend, and this dividend is a gift. It's also known as a demographic window because when birth rates are relatively high, there is a lot of economic opportunity. Okay, and soon this will lapse into history, and the demographic winter will set in. And demographic center winter will represent the long-term decline, birth rates, sustained decline in birth rates, which cannot be possibly revived. We do not know whether low birth rates can be revived anywhere. We have to wait and see for new data, hardcore data to emerge and theories to be formulated thereon. Okay. However, I don't think very low birth rates are a problem at all. Okay, because I have observed for few observations here. People with a less number of children take care of their children better. People with a less number of children educate their children better. More educated children contribute more to taxes. More educated children take care of their parents better. Okay, it leads to a healthier economy on the whole. Okay, and what I would also suggest is ideal TFR, ideal total fertility rate must be fixed. It must not be global. It must be taking into account issues, concerns, challenges based on that region. It is very difficult to determine what constitutes ideal total rate, but be ideal uh, total fertility rate, but we believe we must take a local specific approach. There can be no one size fits all approach. Okay, ideal TFR will be determined based on the population density of a particular state, country, or region, environmental conditions such as vulnerability and susceptibility to global warming. For example, India and Maldives are more susceptible to vulnerable global warming. There must be no pronatalism here. Pronatalism means foolishly arguing for higher birth rates, like Chandrababu Naidu have done. It opposite of that is antinatalism. Pronatalism we must not endorse under any consequences because the benefits of a low fertility rate, in my opinion, far outweigh and outstrip the benefits of a larger total fertility rate. Natural resources, the availability of natural resources also must be taken into account of consideration. This is very important. However, we are now moving away from mineral and resource intensive models of development. Economic factors such as per capita income, threshold and standards of living, etc., must also be taken into account and consideration. Geopolitical factors also must be taken into consideration. For example, India is prone to my potential migrations from Bangladesh and Pakistan because they have higher birth rates there. Not possibly so much of Pakistan because we have a lot of issues with them, political issues with them. But the migration from Nepal and Bangladesh is very much a reality. Okay, so ideally, based on all these principles, India must have a low ideal totality fertility rate. Okay, that is why we propose that the term population management and demographic management also must be polarized. Okay, this would be much more handy and comprehensive terms than population control or birth control. Okay, large number of factors must also be taken into account to consideration always. We also need bottom-up research and bottom-up gestation of ideas and thought processes, which is lacking today, not those which are slavishly borrowed from other contexts. Okay, this is one of the cornerstones of our approach to globalization of science, global trust movement. Okay, and meaningful ideas and can emerge. This can be a catalyst and a springboard for meaningful ideas that can emanate from such an exercise. Okay, and we must also at the same time eschew and avoid concepts like eugenics and scientific racism. And there was a movement to weed out or eliminate undesirable traits at the same time. At the same time, what we must do is we must base our programs and plans based on local considerations and issues. At the same time, we must always have a holistic, long term as well as a worldwide view approach because we are all one species. We all inherit the one Earth. Okay, thank you very much once again. Thank you for giving me a patient hearing and understanding. Thank you.